Hello, what's up, good people? Hope you're doing good wherever you're watching this from. Please, by the way, subscribe and share my content and comment. Now, today's video, I just want to talk about how David Jr. is highly underrated. This guy is so smart, very smart indeed. The way he does his things, the way he's managed to bounce from one type of content to another is highly underrated. And there's something I was watching a video today, and I realized that this guy is way smart than people may think. When you think about the two of the YouTubers he's been working and working with from one family, that is John Tefreshi and Martin de Africa. John Tefreshi and Martin de Africa, it's a brother and a sister, and they are the brother and the sister to this young man who went to rehab, Brian Vapor. Now, I think 2 weeks ago, I was watching some of his content and I was reading some of the comments. And one of the comments was, why don't David Jr. open a YouTube channel for Brian Vapor? And that's because I guess when he was making a video, there's a point where Brian Vapor requested David Jr. to open a YouTube channel for him. And according to some of the people who are commenting, they kind of viewed that David Jr. maybe has blushed off that request. And knowing Nyabohanse and knowing how the haters and the critics, the negative critics, love to dwell so much on the very trivial issues, it may have seemed like David Jr. did not want Brian Vapor to have his own YouTube channel, because we all understand, like, Brian Vapor is a vibe. He's just naturally a vibe. But I'm gonna say this: it's not everyone who is meant for YouTube. YouTube does not work for everybody. There are some people who just come on this space and they just blow up. There are some people who come on this space, they take their time, and by the time they're getting recognized, they do their things. And of course, there's always the other side of the niche. So I now understand why David Jr. did not maybe want to go to that route at first. Because initially, we all know that David Jr. used to vibe a lot with Matiko, Moremi, and Brian Vapor. Now, what is common with these three guys? Matiko, Moremi, and Brian Vapor, they were all suffering from alcohol use disorder. And that's a sickness, that's a disease as far as I'm concerned. Addiction is a disease. And you see, when Brian Vapor requested David Jr. to open a YouTube channel for him, and it seems like he has declined, even though he did not decline, I now understand that David Jr. is way smart, because he did not want to put Brian Vapor in a situation where he might not manage to defend himself. Because David Jr. is at now, having been on YouTube for quite some time, understands the dangers of this platform. You're going to be bullied. People are going to talk a lot of nonsense. And sometimes when bullies come, it's always wise. There are those you can ignore and there are those you can respond to. Because you cannot allow bullies to bully you for all that time and you're not responding. There are those who you really understand that now this one is cybercrime and this one is just a critic. So he also understood that Brian Vapor needed more than having a YouTube channel. Brian Vapor needed to be empowered first, to first of all conquer himself, just like any other man has to conquer himself first. He needed to get rid of this one thing that is dragging him behind and perhaps driving a lot of young men in that community behind. Because we all understand, like people like Muremi, Mukami, and the other guy, Matiko. If there's one thing that has been really dragging them behind, is drug addiction. So the reason as to why I believe David Jr. is a very smart guy is because instead of first of all dealing directly with Brian Weber and opening up his a YouTube channel for him, he decided instead of me doing this, why don't I support people who are close to Brian Weber and perhaps repay Brian Weber for the good work that he's been doing? Because you see, there was always that vibe, strong vibe. David Jr. loved Brian Weber a lot as a brother. He really loved Brian Weber deep down, and he wanted to see him shine. So he wanted, by God's grace, David Jr. created a system whereby Brian Weber is going to get help in one way or the other. And the mother to Brian Weber is also going to appreciate David Jr.'s efforts in helping his family. Today, David Jr., you will always find him with John DeFreschi, and you will always find him with Martin de Africa. Now, you look at John DeFreschi and you look at Martin de Africa, these guys, they're just very natural, very authentic in their YouTube platforms. The way they deliver their message, the way they communicate, the way they do everything is so authentic and open. So it became easier for David Jr. to replace Brian Weber, but he made sure he's going to replace Brian Weber with a very close family member, and not just one but two. So we have David Jr. replacing Brian Weber at the moment where he's gone for rehab, and he made sure that he's going to replace that young man with a brother and a sister. So apparently, we have two family members who are working with David Jr. and they're doing very well on YouTube, considering they are very young and they are kind of new to YouTube. Because you see, in that village, there are certain people, when you start working with them, your YouTube journey becomes a little bit easier. You start on a high note. And by this, I'm saying people like right now in that village, if you start working with people like Ayamarwa, D Mwango, David Jr. Recently, we have Mike Kizo. We have It's Nastro Mayugno. Those are some of the people in that village. When they give you a shout out, at least they're exposing you to a larger platform, to a larger audience rather. And that audience is going to come to subscribe. And if they like your content, they'll keep watching. And in the process, you might get some donors, well wishers, and sponsors for your content. So by this time, David Jr. has already brought in two very important people, and they're very going to be very, very vital in the next project. Because what I heard from maybe a previous YouTube video he did is after Dancing Grandma's project, David Jr. is intending to at least focus on the what do we call him? Not Matiko. Uh, John DeFresh's family, Brian Vapor. He intends to focus on doing a project for Brian Vapors and the family. And I can understand why. First of all, John DeFresh is not a drunkard. Martin de Africa is also focused. And it's very easier to deal with people who are very focused, unlike before. And I'll explain this shortly. Now look at what Ayamara did with Mike Kizo and Daniel. So Mike Kizo, as much as we can only judge from what we see here, Mike Kizo is not a drunkard, and we have Daniel Mito is also not a drunkard. So when you're dealing with these people, it's very easy to see progress on their lives. Apparently, we've seen a lot of changes in Mike Kizo's life. We've also seen a lot of changes on Daniel's life. As we are speaking, Daniel is building a house. And my expectation is that probably by 2026 June, that house, there's a possibility it's going to be fully furnished. The young man, and again, I hope and pray that his YouTube channel is going to start giving him earnings because he's also having a very huge following. as a YouTuber, when you start making content every single day, the possibility of making a lot of money is also very high. And that's one of the tricks that has been mastered by people like Ayamara, David Jr., who does 4 videos per day, by the way. So by David Jr. supporting Matinde Africa and John Tefreshi, he is making the next project very easy for him. And then from his experience, perhaps David Jr. thought that he's going to go for a niche that is different. While his brother was trying to alleviate people from poverty. You see what Ayamara did is, Ayamara did not want to give these people fish. He wanted to elevate them, and it worked. So through Ayamara, we have people, the big people. So far, we have it's Nasto and we have Mayugno. So with Ayamara, he wanted to elevate these people so that they can become independent and do their own content their own way. And that worked. And it's still working. So there's a possibility that David Jr. did not want to seem as if he's competing with his brother. So maybe he identified a niche. He tried a niche that burned his reputation. No, actually, he did not burn his reputation. It's part of the struggles one has to face once you start your YouTube channel. But there's a possibility that he got burnt in the process. Because once you're working with guys who are struggling with drug addiction, or rather drug misuse disorder, it's always going to come back and bite you because they're going to betray you, as it has been witnessed so far. So what you realize is, at this time, that no longer is something he wants to pursue, and that's why he's really trying his best to make sure that Brian Vapor stands firm on his 2 feet, that Brian Vapor deals with the addictions once and for all. They're trying as much as they can do to salvage the life left in Brian Vapor's life. And so one of the things he's doing is he has brought in a brother and a sister to help him. And perhaps once Brian Vapor realizes that, wow, my family is in here for greatness, then maybe it's going to charge him emotionally and help him to change. And that's all we're hoping to see. A completely different guy who is going to change his life moving forward. And that's one of the things, that's one of the ways I realized that David Jr. is in it for the long term. And again, when working with John Tefreshi and Matinda Africa, and perhaps in the next project, he has already introduced these two for a long term big project, because one of the things he's want to do is he want to make sure that at least there are people who are benefiting from the village. He realized, like, even the people, the well wishers who are supporting him, they are not into these guys who are just taking alcohol and all that. They want to see growth. Like now, when you look at Grandma's Dancing Grandma's project, you can see change. It's clear it's there. As much as Grandma has a lot of issues, personal issues that she needs to deal with, at least there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of change. She's experiencing a lot of positive changes. And I hope that she's also going to do some soul searching and change the way she does her things, because you cannot become too greedy to a point where you want your family members to milk everything. And you see, the well wishers, as much as they want to give, because I believe some of the well wishers, they understand the image we've had as black people or as Africans. And David Jr. comes in as a link between the people being helped and the well wisher. The well wisher may not have the capacity to be on the ground and do things, But then we have somebody like David Jr. All that is needed is trust and transparency, accountability, and honesty. And so far, he has managed to prove that. And David Jr. is very smart. This kid is just smart. He's highly underrated, but I believe he's very smart. Look, this kid has a car, he has a vehicle, he has an ongoing project. But what do you see? He comes to this project as just a mere villager. He's not flashy, he just takes a motorcycle, mingles with the other villagers, does his videos, does his content rather, and then walks out. He doesn't show us back at home how things are. He only shows us about his project once in a while. And I'm sure he's taking time. I remember this guy is really earning a lot of money. 4 videos per day. We are talking about 120 videos in a month. 120 videos in a month. And each video is doing 10K. And I'll be doing that in another video. I'll try to analyze. I've never seen the dashboard. He has never published his dashboard. But in a different video, I'll try to analyze and see, and perhaps maybe evaluate how much you'd be earning per month. But I believe it's to do with $20,000, 20,000 USD per month, and that is a lot of money here in Africa, here in Kenya. 20 USD is money that can really, really push you a long way here in Kenya. This guy is not paying rent. Transport is cheap, food is cheap, and he comes from a place where things are readily available. But man, this guy is smart. He has already figured out, you know what? I'm going to start building my future as early as I can. So make as much content as I can here, and then whatever comes my way, comes my way. God blesses me, God blesses me. Mm. So all I'm expecting to see, and I'm really, really waiting for Brian Vapor to come back, so that I can see the changes that are going to happen. 2025 is over. As far, I mean, there's little they can do right now. All they need to do is finish up with Dancing Grandma's project. The wedding was done. Massive, massive content. Man, David Jr. is just very smart. Hmm? The project is almost to get done. And then next year comes, January, another direction. And I'll be waiting to see what's going to be doing for next year. But other than that, I'm just wishing him the very, very best as a young African boy. Um, I believe YouTube is his thing now. We don't know whether the village content bubble is going to burst anytime soon. But right now, where he sits, he's sitting on a pretty, pretty, pretty ground. I believe in 2 years' time, he will have finished building his, though the apartments he's building back at Nyabohanse. Because once he does maybe that floor, fourth floor, and then money comes in, and perhaps we have donors or other well wishers, then it's going to be a good thing for him because in future it's going to start earning him money. Remember, there's a possibility that Nyabohanse is going to be a tourist attraction. It's going to be a village where tourists want to come and visit, and especially the people who have been donating and giving money for those houses and projects. And it's true because so far I've seen visitors coming to visit. There's a lady who came to visit the likes of Nico Buddha, it's Nasto, just visiting the village, Amama Arms, just visiting the village to see where their money has been going to, and it's a pretty cool thing. So in future there's a possibility that the village is going to attract a lot of tourists, and as tourists come they're always going to need places, Airbnbs to stay in. They're always gonna need services. And I believe that's what the likes of David Jr., the smart guy, are preparing to do. Other than that, I wish him the very best in his YouTube career. He's doing amazing, amazing job considering that he has not yet hit 100k subscribers. He's doing a pretty job. Probably one of the best here in Kenya, or rather even in Africa, because what I've seen with a lot of YouTubers here in Africa, they really invest a lot in their videos because like these people who make travel content, I don't know how they manage to do it, but I hope they do have sponsors, companies who sponsor and partner with them because you can't really rely on YouTube money for some of these kind of travels and content. And one of these guys who honestly confessed to that is Wodemaya. He really said he's really invested a lot of money, like when he was doing videos, content in Ethiopia. But for Devi, you just wake up, maybe the highest amount of money he spends is for traveling, just fueling, and then just working with John DeFreshy and the others. And then he does go there, just take the camera, make content, upload it, you got views, and that's it. And the guy, I believe this guy easily makes about 2 million per month. Easily, easily. And I hope that's true, by the way. It's good to see young people winning. Other than that, you guys please subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch my content. Comment below and have a good one. See you in the next one.